It was a peaceful day on Earth. The sky was clear, and people were going about their usual routines. Cities hummed with activity, and life seemed as normal as it could be in a world filled with technology and science. Little did the people know, something was about to change forever, something that no one could have ever imagined. Far above Earth, in the blackness of space, an alien ship appeared. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The ship was massive, with strange lights and designs that pulsed with a glow. It moved silently, like a shadow in the sky. People on the ground had no idea what was happening. They went about their lives, oblivious to the danger that was coming. But for the first time in history, the Earth's security systems went on high alert. At first, scientists thought it was just a new satellite or maybe a passing comet. But then, it didn't move like a comet. It didn't behave like anything they had ever seen before. The ship hovered, almost as if it was studying the planet. Then, a strange message was broadcast all over the world. It was a message from the aliens, and the message was clear. Earth, you are weak. You will bow to us. Surrender now, or face your destruction. The world went silent. People stared at the screens in shock. The message was in a language no one recognized, but somehow it was understood by all. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning. And it sent fear into every heart on Earth. The message was not over. Your planet is nothing to us. We have conquered worlds far stronger than yours. Your weapons are no match for us. You are fragile, like insects beneath our feet. Bow down, or your destruction will be swift. The message ended. Silence filled the air once more, but now it was filled with fear. The alien ship had not attacked, yet. It just hung in space, watching, waiting. World leaders quickly came together, unsure of what to do. They tried to contact the aliens, but all their attempts were met with silence. No one could communicate with them. The ship just floated there, as if mocking their every move. People began to panic. News channels ran nonstop, showing the massive ship in the sky, and every person on Earth knew that something was terribly wrong. In the days that followed, the ship released more messages, each one more threatening than the last. The aliens didn't care about Earth's peace or the lives of its people. They were a conquering race, and they had already made up their minds. They would take Earth. It was only a matter of time. On the surface, it seemed like the Earth was preparing for war. Governments mobilized their armies. Weapons were readied. But they knew deep down that they were no match for the aliens. The alien ships were much more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen. Their technology was centuries ahead of humans. They had weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. And worst of all, the aliens seemed so sure of themselves. People watched the skies nervously. Every day, they hoped the aliens wouldn't attack. But they also knew, deep in their hearts, that the aliens would come. They had already said they would. Then, one fateful night, it happened. The ship above Earth began to move. It didn't just hover anymore. It started to descend, slowly at first. People on the ground watched in fear, unsure of what would happen next. The giant ship cast a long shadow over the Earth, blocking out the stars. It was like a nightmare coming to life. Then, with a thunderous roar, the ship unleashed a beam of energy, aimed straight at the Earth. It wasn't an attack, at least not in the traditional sense. The beam hit the ground and created a huge explosion. But this was no ordinary explosion. The energy spread across the surface of the planet, creating a massive shockwave. Buildings shook. Windows shattered. People ran in panic. The world watched in horror as the aliens demonstrated their power. The message was clear. They were not here to negotiate. They were here to conquer. And Earth, with all its advanced technology, was nothing to them. The aliens then launched more ships, smaller ships, but still powerful. They began to land in different parts of the world. They didn't attack right away. Instead, they stood still, as if they were waiting. It was as though they were giving Earth one final chance to surrender. But Earth's leaders were not ready to give up. They had no choice but to fight back, even if they knew they were outmatched. And so, the first battle began. Humanity was not prepared. They had no idea what kind of power they were up against. But there was something they did know. They had to protect their world. They would not go down without a fight. They would not let the aliens take everything from them without a struggle. The first clash was quick and brutal. The humans fired everything they had. But the alien ships were too strong, their weapons too advanced. The humans could barely make a dent. Yet, even in the face of overwhelming odds, they fought with all their might. But deep down, they all knew the truth. They were not ready. The aliens were much stronger than they ever imagined. And soon, Earth would have to face the full force of the alien invasion. The story was just beginning, and Earth had no idea what was coming next. But one thing was certain. Humanity would not go down without a fight. Their rage, their will to survive, was just beginning to rise. And the aliens would soon learn that there was one thing they had never expected: the strength of humanity's spirit. The attack on Earth had only just begun, but it was clear that humanity was not ready. The alien ships, hovering above the cities, unleashed their destructive power with terrifying precision. The human military fought back with everything they had, but their weapons seemed useless against the advanced alien technology. Tanks, fighter jets, and missiles were no match for the sleek, deadly ships. Every strike was met with force, and for every human life lost, the aliens seemed to grow more confident in their victory. As the battle raged, the leaders of Earth gathered in underground bunkers, trying to come up with a plan. The situation was dire, and their communications were filled with reports of destruction. In every corner of the world, cities were burning, and entire populations were being wiped out. There seemed to be no hope. The aliens were too powerful, and Earth was too small, too weak. But there was one thing the invaders didn't know. Humans had a strength that couldn't be measured by technology. They had something that made them different, something that no alien race could have predicted. They had a will to fight. They had something to protect: their families, their homes, their way of life. In a small, hidden military base deep underground, a group of commanders gathered to discuss their options. Among them was General Marcus, a grizzled veteran who had fought in wars all over the world. He looked at the map of the Earth's major cities, now nothing but rubble. His eyes were filled with anger, but it was the anger of a man who had lost everything. "We can't give up," he said quietly. "We won't give up." The other commanders stared at him, exhausted and fearful. They knew the truth. Earth was losing. But Marcus wasn't finished. "We might not have the technology, but we have something they don't," he continued, his voice growing stronger. "We have the rage of humanity." The room was silent for a moment. The rage of humanity. What did that even mean? But then, something shifted. The soldiers in the room stood a little taller. They weren't soldiers because they had advanced weapons. They were soldiers because they had something far more powerful. They had heart. They had pride. They had a fire that burned deep within them, a fire that refused to die. As the general spoke, the team quickly realized that they could still fight. They may not have the aliens' powerful weapons, but they could use their knowledge, their ingenuity, and their rage to turn the tide. In the face of certain defeat, they could still win. The fight was not going to be won with missiles or bombs. It was going to be won with the human spirit. Marcus and his team set to work. They started hacking into alien systems, trying to find a way to use their own technology against them. It was a long shot, but they had no choice. The aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt. Back on the surface, the humans began to rally. Civilians who had taken shelter in underground bunkers now joined forces with the military. Scientists worked around the clock to create new weapons, and engineers designed new systems to fight the aliens on their own terms. The people of Earth knew that if they were going to survive, they had to act as one. As the human resistance grew stronger, so did their anger. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that humanity could not be crushed. It was about showing the aliens that Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. Meanwhile, the aliens, having seen the resistance grow, began to realize they had made a mistake. They had assumed that humans were weak, that they could break easily. But the aliens had no understanding of what true defiance meant. They didn't know that when a human's back is against the wall, they will do anything to fight back. The alien leaders ordered their forces to step up their attacks, launching more ships, more weapons, and more destruction. They believed that with their superior technology, they could finally break the will of humanity. But each attack only made the humans more determined. They were enraged now, fighting not just for survival, but for their future. In the midst of the chaos, General Marcus and his team managed to hack into the alien mainframe. They found a weakness, a flaw in their system that could be exploited. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give the humans a fighting chance. They quickly communicated the discovery to every soldier and resistance group on Earth. The plan was simple: strike the alien ships at their core, destroy their communication system, and cripple their ability to fight back. The humans launched their first successful counterattack. Using alien technology against them, they took down one of the smaller ships. The victory was small, but it sent a message to both the humans and the aliens. Humanity was not going down quietly. There was hope yet. As the aliens regrouped and prepared for a second wave of attacks, humanity began to fight back with everything they had. The military forces, the scientists, and the civilians all worked together. The fear that had once gripped the world was slowly replaced by a fierce determination. The rage of humanity was no longer just a spark. It had become an unstoppable fire. The alien ships, once so powerful and confident, now found themselves facing an enemy they had never expected. The humans were fighting not just to win, but to survive, and in their hearts, they knew that no force in the universe could defeat them. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the aliens would soon learn that humanity's rage was a force unlike any other. The alien forces had underestimated humanity, and it was becoming more evident with every passing day. As the war continued, the humans began to show their true strength. It wasn't their technology that made them dangerous. It was their resourcefulness, their ability to adapt, and most importantly, their unyielding spirit. In the heart of the global resistance, General Marcus stood before a group of soldiers, scientists, and engineers. The tension in the room was thick. They had made progress, yes, but it was far from enough. Every victory, no matter how small, came at a great cost. Yet the humans could feel something growing inside them, a quiet, burning rage. It was the rage of survival, the rage of a species that would not be erased. And it was beginning to fuel their efforts. "Listen up," General Marcus's voice cut through the room, commanding attention. "We've made some progress. We've found weaknesses in their systems, and we've learned from their mistakes. Now it's time to take the fight to them. We need to show them that humanity is not just some weak species they can crush. We will strike back, and we will show them that no force can stand against us." His words were met with nods of agreement, though some faces still held doubts. But Marcus could see the fire in their eyes. They weren't afraid anymore. They were angry. They had something to protect. They had a home, a future, and they were ready to fight for it. Across the globe, the resistance was growing stronger. The civilians, once terrified and hidden in underground shelters, were now emerging as part of the fight. Farmers, doctors, teachers, and even children had begun to join the cause. They didn't have military training, but they were learning quickly. The humans were no longer just defending. They were fighting back with creativity and resolve. One of the most impressive developments came from the scientific community. Using the scraps of alien technology left behind after their failed attacks, Earth's top scientists had managed to reverse engineer some of the alien weaponry. They weren't just using their own weapons anymore. They were wielding alien tech against the invaders. The technology wasn't perfect, but it was enough. They had found ways to disrupt the alien communications, disable their shields, and even bring down their ships with more precision. But the most important thing they had learned was the aliens' vulnerability, their overconfidence. As the humans made these discoveries, the Resistance launched more coordinated strikes against the alien forces. Small teams infiltrated alien strongholds, sabotaging equipment and setting traps. In urban centers, civilians used guerrilla tactics to harass the invaders, hitting them in the places where they were weakest. The aliens were frustrated, confused. They had expected humanity to crumble beneath their might, but instead, they were finding that humans had a unique ability to fight back, even when faced with overwhelming odds. One of the most critical moments came when a team of resistance fighters managed to infiltrate the alien command center. They had one goal: to gather intelligence that could turn the tide of the war. The mission was dangerous, but it was the only chance they had to learn more about the alien force's ultimate plan. The team, led by Captain Elena Rivera, a former intelligence officer, sneaked into the heavily guarded alien base. They'd moved like shadows, using the very technology they had scavenged from previous battles. As they entered the heart of the alien facility, the team discovered a startling truth. The aliens had not just come to conquer Earth. They had come to harvest it. The aliens were draining the planet's resources, stripping the Earth of its natural elements to fuel their own war machine. They didn't care about the humans. To them, Earth was just another resource to be consumed. This revelation was both shocking and enraging. The humans weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for their planet, their future. Earth wasn't just their home. It was something worth protecting at all costs. Belina and her team gathered all the intel they could, narrowly escaping the alien compound just as alarms blared. Their mission had been a success, but it had come with a heavy cost. 2 of their team members were lost, their sacrifice fueling the fire of humanity's rage. When the team returned, the information they brought back was a game changer. The humans now knew that the aliens were planning a final strike to completely wipe out Earth's defenses, taking everything they needed from the planet before leaving it a barren wasteland. This knowledge changed everything. General Marcus immediately called for a global summit, bringing together leaders from every resistance faction. They had to act quickly. The clock was ticking, and the aliens' final assault was drawing near. The plan was set in motion. Humanity would hit them where it hurt most. They would disrupt the alien harvest operation, destroy their energy sources, and make it clear to the invaders that Earth would not be a passive victim. The resistance fighters, armed with both human ingenuity and the alien technology they had reproposed, began their final preparation. They knew that this would be their most dangerous mission yet, but they also knew that the aliens had no idea what they were about to face. Humanity wasn't just fighting back with weapons. They were fighting with everything they had, fueled by a rage that would never be extinguished. Across the world, the final preparations were being made. Every soldier, scientist, and civilian was ready to give their all. They had come to realize that no matter how advanced the enemy's technology was, they could not crush the spirit of humanity. They had underestimated the humans' will to survive. And now, the aliens would learn that their greatest mistake had been thinking they could defeat a species that would never, ever give up. The humans weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to show the universe that humanity was not a species to be taken lightly. And in their hearts, they knew no force could stand against them. Not now. Not ever. The final battle was at hand. Across the globe, the resistance had prepared for this moment, each faction working together to execute a plan that had one goal: to push the alien invaders back and secure Earth's future. The stakes had never been higher, and there was no turning back now. General Marcus stood in front of a massive digital map, his eyes scanning the various points where humanity's forces were set to strike. The plan was as ambitious as it was dangerous. It relied on precision, coordination, and above all, the belief that humanity could defy the odds. The alien forces, though advanced and powerful, had shown their weakness, their arrogance. They believed they had already won, that nothing could stand in their way. They couldn't have been more wrong. "The time has come," Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "This is not just about defeating the aliens. This is about saving Earth. This is about showing them that humanity is not a species that kneels to anyone. We fight for our future. We fight for every man, woman, and child on this planet. And we will win." His words were met with fierce applause and determined nods from the resistance fighters who stood around him. These people had seen the worst of the alien onslaught. They had lost friends, family, entire cities. But now, they stood united with one purpose in mind: to drive the invaders from their world. The first wave of attacks began before the sun even rose. Resistance fighters, armed with modified alien weapons and human ingenuity, infiltrated the alien bases on multiple fronts. The strike teams were small, but their precision was unmatched. They worked quickly, using guerrilla tactics to disable the alien energy sources that powered their ships and weapons. The aliens were momentarily caught off guard. Their technology, which had once seemed unstoppable, now seemed vulnerable. As the strike teams sabotaged the alien infrastructure, General Marcus led the ground forces into the most dangerous part of the plan. A massive alien energy facility, hidden deep within the mountains, was the key to the alien forces' strength. It was here that they were siphoning Earth's resources, using them to fuel their ships and weaponry. Destroying it would cripple the invaders' ability to continue their war. It would be the turning point in the conflict. The trek to the facility was perilous. The resistance soldiers knew that they were walking into the heart of enemy territory. Every step they took could be their last. But they had no choice. The future of humanity depended on their success. Their every movement was calculated, every decision made with the weight of the world on their shoulders. When they finally reached the facility, they were met with a sight that took their breath away. The alien base was enormous, surrounded by towering walls and guarded by heavily armed soldiers. There was no way they could just walk in. They had to fight their way through. Captain Elena Rivera, the leader of the infiltration team, took charge. "We go in hard and fast. No hesitations. We disable the outer defenses first, and then we make our way to the main reactor. We have one shot at this. Let's make it count." The team nodded, each one steeling themselves for the task ahead. They had trained for months, using every ounce of their creativity and resourcefulness to prepare for this moment. They knew it wasn't going to be easy. They had to face the full force of the alien defenses. But what the aliens didn't understand was that the humans weren't just fighting for victory. They were fighting for survival. That made them more dangerous than any weapon. The first battle was fierce. Alien soldiers poured from the entrance of the facility, their weapons blazing with deadly precision. The humans, though outgunned, fought with an unmatched ferocity. They used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps and ambushing the aliens from hidden positions. The alien soldiers, with all their advanced armor and weaponry, were caught off guard by the humans' tactics. They weren't prepared for the unpredictability of human warfare. As the battle raged on, the team slowly made their way toward the central reactor. Every step was a struggle, with casualties mounting on both sides. But the humans pushed forward, fueled by a single unwavering belief: they could not let Earth fall. Finally, they reached the core of the facility, a massive chamber filled with humming alien machinery. The central reactor, the heart of the alien operation, glowed with an ominous light. The team quickly set to work, placing explosives on the core, ready to destroy it and cripple the aliens' power. But just as they finished, an alarm blared. The aliens had detected the breach. "You have to go now," Elena shouted, her voice barely audible over the noise of the alarms. "Get out. I'll cover you." But the soldiers refused to leave her behind. Alina had led them this far, and they weren't going to abandon her now. They fought their way to the exit, with Alina holding off the alien reinforcements long enough for the team to escape. But as the clock ticked down, Alina realized there was no time for her to make it out. The explosives were set. It was now or never. With a final, defiant roar, Alina activated the detonator. The explosion that followed was massive, shaking the ground beneath them and sending a shockwave that could be felt for miles. The alien base was obliterated, and with it, the source of their strength. Back on the surface, the world watched as the skies above Earth seemed to tremble. The first sign of victory was in the air. The destruction of the alien energy facility had crippled their forces. The alien ships, without the resources they had been draining from Earth, began to falter. The tide of the war was shifting, but the battle wasn't over. The aliens, though weakened, still had a massive fleet hovering above Earth. They were not going to give up without a final, desperate attempt to crush humanity once and for all. General Marcus and his forces knew that this was only the beginning of the end. The last stage of the fight would be the most difficult yet. However, the humans had a new sense of confidence. They had taken the first step toward reclaiming their planet. They had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could strike back with a vengeance. The rage of humanity had been unleashed, and the aliens were beginning to learn the hard way. Humanity would not be defeated. The final stage of the war had begun, and there was no turning back now. Earth was not just fighting to survive anymore. It was fighting to show the universe that no power, no matter how advanced, could ever stand against the strength of human will. The battle was far from over, but humanity had finally gained a foothold. The destruction of the alien energy facility had dealt a heavy blow to the invaders, but their response was swift and brutal. The skies above Earth remained filled with alien warships, their advanced weapons still capable of devastating entire cities. The aliens had not given up, and they were preparing for their final push to crush humanity once and for all. General Marcus and his team knew that they had little time. The alien forces were regrouping, their remaining ships refueling and preparing for another wave of destruction. Earth's remaining military assets were scattered, strained by months of constant conflict. The resistance fighters, though stronger than ever, were outnumbered and underprepared for the oncoming storm. But there was a spark of hope. Humanity had learned more from the aliens than they had expected. As they'd raided alien facilities and adapted their technology, they had found another weakness: the invaders' reliance on their centralized command structure. The aliens had designed their ships and weapons to operate in perfect synchronization, but the destruction of the energy facility had thrown their systems into chaos. Without a coordinated command, the invaders' forces were far less effective. It was time to strike back, harder than ever before. In a high-tech underground command center, General Marcus and his advisors sat hunched over the strategic map of Earth. Cities once vibrant and bustling now lay in ruin. But the map now showed something more encouraging. There were pockets of resistance, strongholds that had been hidden and protected from the alien onslaught. And those pockets were growing. The global resistance was united, stronger than ever. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, and civilians alike had come together to form a united front. The time had come for a final, coordinated strike that would bring an end to the war, one way or another. The aliens are expecting a direct confrontation, General Marcus said, his voice low but resolute. We can't give them that. We have to hit them where it hurts, disrupt their command structure, cut them off from their power. If we can take down their central fleet control, we can scatter them. We can break them. His plan was risky, too risky for some, but it was their only chance. The resistance would launch a diversionary assault, drawing the aliens' attention away from their true target. Meanwhile, a specialized team would infiltrate the alien mothership that hovered just outside Earth's orbit. This ship was the heart of the alien fleet, the command center from which all operations were coordinated. Destroy it, and the rest of the invaders would be thrown into disarray. The plan was set into motion, and soon, Thousands of resistance fighters from every corner of the world were preparing for the most dangerous mission of their lives. They knew that this would be the ultimate test of their strength and resolve. Many of them wouldn't make it back, but the future of Earth depended on their sacrifice. Captain Elena Rivera, who had become a symbol of the human resistance, was chosen to lead the team that would infiltrate the alien mothership. Her team was made up of the best fighters, engineers, and hackers who had honed their skills in the heat of battle. They were the tip of the spear, the last hope for humanity's survival. As Elena gathered her team in the hangar before they boarded the ship that would take them to the mothership, she could see the fear in their eyes. But she also saw something else: determination. They had all lost so much, and they had nothing left to lose. Their fight was no longer just for survival. It was for the future of Earth, for their families, and for the generations that would come after them. They had made peace with the fact that they might not return, but they were going anyway, because it was the only way to end this war. "We can do this," Elena said to her team as they prepared to depart. "This is our chance. We may not have the firepower or the technology the aliens do, but we have something they don't: the will to fight. We're not going to give up. Not now. Not ever." The team nodded, their faces set in grim resolve. They didn't need words to understand the importance of what they were about to do. Their mission was clear, and it was the only thing that mattered now. As the team boarded their ship and lifted off toward the alien mothership, the world held its breath. The diversionary assault had begun. Resistance forces on the ground launched an all-out attack on alien bases, drawing the invaders' attention and leaving their command center exposed. The aliens, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, leaving their mothership vulnerable. It was the perfect moment. Elena's team made their approach. The mothership loomed large in front of them, a dark, ominous presence in space. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Massive, with sleek alien architecture and an impenetrable hull. But it was not invincible. Not anymore. With expert precision, Elena's team boarded the mothership, sneaking past the alien defenses with the help of advanced technology they had scavenged. The ship was heavily guarded, but they had come prepared. Using the weapons and tools they had developed, they disabled the outer security systems and infiltrated the heart of the ship. Inside, the aliens were frantic, scrambling to restore their communication systems and deploy their forces to fight back. But it was too late. Elena and her team reached the central control room, where the alien commanders were located. Their plan had been simple: destroy the central control system, causing a massive disruption in the alien fleet. With their command structure in chaos, the invaders would be left vulnerable, and the human resistance would be able to strike with full force. But just as Elena was about to activate the detonator, an alien commander appeared, blocking their escape route. The team had expected a fight, but the reality of facing their enemy up close was still a shock. The alien commander was enormous, towering over them, with glowing eyes and sharp angular features. "We will not be defeated by you," the alien commander growled, his voice like the rumble of thunder. Elena didn't hesitate. She reached for her weapon, her eyes locked on the alien. "You may think you're invincible, but we've already won. The rage of humanity can never be defeated." With that, the final battle began. The battle inside the alien mothership was a blur of chaos and violence. Elena's team had one goal: to disable the command center and prevent the aliens from coordinating their final strike. But the alien commander standing before them was a formidable adversary, and the room was filled with the eerie hum of alien technology that pulsed like a heartbeat in the background. The alien commander, towering and menacing, bared his teeth as he advanced toward them. His movements were quick, graceful, and unsettling. Elena raised her weapon, but her heart was pounding. The odds were against them. They were outnumbered, and the creature before them was unlike anything they had ever fought. It was pure instinct that drove her forward. "Cover me," Elena shouted to her team. They didn't hesitate. A firefight erupted in the control room, lasers and plasma beams flashing through the air, reflecting off the metallic walls. The team moved swiftly, using the terrain to their advantage, ducking behind consoles and alien tech, firing on the alien soldiers who tried to flank them. But it wasn't just the aliens they had to contend with. The very ship they were on seemed to be alive, its systems responding to the battle, sending wave after wave of security drones to eliminate the intruders. The alien commander moved with terrifying speed, dodging their shots and retaliating with his own weapon, a high-powered energy beam that sent blasts of searing light toward the humans. One of Elena's team members, a young engineer named Cade, was caught by one of the beams. He screamed as he fell to the floor, his suit barely protecting him from the heat. Elena's heart skipped a beat, but there was no time to mourn. They had to finish the mission. "Elena," shouted the voice of Lieutenant Sarah on the comms. "We need to hit the reactor now. We can't keep fighting this thing indefinitely." Elena nodded, her grip tightening on her weapon. She shot a glance at the alien commander, who was slowly advancing toward her. With a determined look, Elena turned toward the control panel behind her. The alien technology was complex, its interface unlike anything she had seen before. But the humans had spent months learning, adapting, and deciphering alien tech, and now was the time to use it. "Cover me," she called out again, this time making a break for the console. The team responded immediately, firing at anything that moved, creating an opening for Elena to work. Sweat dripped down her face as she frantically punched in commands on the alien interface. The computer system hummed as it responded to her inputs. Slowly, a countdown began to appear on the screen. 30 seconds to reactor shutdown, Elena muttered under her breath. But just as the countdown began, the alien commander lunged forward, slamming Elena against the wall. Pain exploded in her ribs, and her vision blurred for a moment. The commander's eyes burned with fury as he grabbed her by the throat, lifting her off the ground with terrifying strength. "You think you can defeat us?" the alien snarled. "You are nothing. We are the conquerors of worlds." Elena struggled, trying to break free from his grip, but the strength of the alien was overwhelming. She could feel the life draining from her as the pressure on her neck increased. But then she remembered something. The anger, the rage of humanity. She wasn't going to die here. Not like this. Her vision sharpened. The anger surged through her. She could see her team fighting for their lives, could hear the sounds of battle all around her. The memory of her fallen comrades, of everything humanity had endured, fueled her. She had to finish this. The future of Earth depended on it. With a final, desperate move, Elena twisted her body and drove the combat knife she had hidden in her belt into the alien commander's side. The commander recoiled in shock and pain, dropping her to the ground. Elena gasped for air, coughing as she struggled to get back on her feet. The alien was wounded, but he wasn't dead. Yet, the countdown on the screen continued. 10 seconds. Sarah's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Hurry." With all her strength, Elena pushed herself up. The alien commander was reeling, his face contorted with rage, but he wasn't finished yet. He staggered toward her, aiming to finish the job. But this time, Elena was ready. She grabbed an alien pulse gun from the floor and fired. The blast hit the alien square in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground with a sickening thud. Elena's breath was ragged as she turned back to the control panel. The countdown was almost over. With shaking hands, she hit the final button, activating the shutdown sequence. The entire ship trembled as the reactor's power began to shut down. The lights flickered, and the ship's hum faltered. It was working. "We've done it," Elena said, barely able to speak as the last of her strength left her. But even as relief washed over her, she knew it wasn't over. The ship was falling apart around them. There was no way out, not without a miracle. Suddenly, Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. "Elena, we have to leave now. The ship's systems are collapsing." You have to get out of there before it's too late." Elena didn't need to be told twice. She grabbed Cade's unconscious body and hauled him to his feet, her teammates helping each other to the exit. But as they made their way through the corridors, the ship began to tremble violently. The walls cracked and shuddered, debris falling from the ceiling as the alien mothership systems began to fail. The escape was anything but easy. They had to move fast, with alarms blaring and the ship's internal systems scrambling to try to restore control. The resistance fighters fought their way through the darkened, collapsing halls, dodging falling debris and avoiding alien patrols. They couldn't stop now. The countdown to the ship's final destruction was already ticking, and the explosion would be catastrophic. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the escape pods. They fought their way into the last one, the hatch slamming shut behind them, just as the mothership's core erupted in a violent explosion. The shockwave threw their pod into a wild spin, but the humans held on, knowing that their survival would mean the destruction of the alien fleet's central command. As their pod hurtled through space, the humans watched through the small window as the mothership exploded in a fiery ball, taking with it the alien force's ability to coordinate their remaining fleet. They had done it. The aliens were disoriented, vulnerable, and broken. But even as victory hung in the air, the humans knew that the war wasn't over. The aliens would regroup, but now they had one thing that the invaders could never take away: hope. And hope, as they had learned, was a weapon that no alien force, no matter how advanced, could ever defeat. The explosion of the alien mothership had sent shockwaves throughout space. The brilliant fireball was a symbol of humanity's defiance, a testament to their will to survive. Elena's escape pod, along with the rest of the resistance team, was tossed through the debris of the destroyed mothership, and for a moment, it seemed as though they might be caught in the aftermath. But they managed to stabilize, their pod drifting into the vastness of space, their mission complete, though the war was far from over. Inside the pod, the team sat in exhausted silence. Cade, the young engineer who had been gravely injured, was now conscious, his body wrapped in bandages and medical patches. His wounds were severe, but he had made it through. Elena sat quietly, her thoughts racing, her heart still pounding in her chest. They had won a crucial victory, but what came next? The rest of the team looked just as weary. Each of them had sacrificed something in this fight. And though the destruction of the mothership had dealt a crippling blow to the aliens, there was still the rest of their fleet. They weren't defeated yet. Not completely. "We did it," Cade said weakly, his voice hoarse. But there was a quiet pride in it. "We actually did it." But Elena, still processing the mission's success, shook her head. "It's not over. They're not finished yet." She was right. The alien invaders had lost their main command structure, but they still controlled a fleet of ships scattered across the solar system. If they regrouped, they could strike again, stronger and more vicious than before. The war had taken a new turn, and humanity had to be ready for the next phase. They couldn't afford to rest. Not now. Their escape pod drifted toward Earth, and as they neared the planet, Elena's heart sank. The skies above Earth were no longer filled with the ominous shadows of alien ships, at least not in the same numbers. But what remained was a planet scared by the invasion. Cities lay in ruin, and millions had lost their lives in the war. Earth had fought valiantly, but it was far from the world it once was. "We need to regroup." General Marcus's voice came through on the comms, breaking the silence. "We've won a major victory, but the war isn't over. The aliens will try to retaliate. We need to prepare for the next phase of this conflict. We need to rebuild Earth, rebuild our forces, and continue the fight, together." Elena nodded, even though the task ahead felt insurmountable. "We'll be ready," she said, her voice stronger than she felt. "We've already proven that we can fight them. Now we need to show them that we can win." The team gathered their things and prepared to land. There was little time to rest. As their pod descended into the atmosphere, Alina stared out the small window at the earth below. It was a sight she had seen countless times before, but now it felt different. It was scared, battered, and bruised. But it was still theirs. It was still humanity's home, and they would fight for it until their last breath. When the pod finally landed in a secure military base, they were met with cheers from the remaining resistance soldiers and civilians. There were no grand celebrations, no lavish displays. There was only the quiet, steady determination of people who had been through hell and come out the other side, knowing that the fight wasn't over. General Marcus was waiting for them at the base. He walked up to Alina and extended his hand. "You did it. You and your team. You turned the tide." Alina shook his hand firmly, but her eyes never left the sky. "We turned the tide, but the battle's far from over. We still have work to do." Marcus nodded. "You're right, but we've proven one thing. The aliens underestimated us. They thought they could crush us. They thought humanity was weak, that we would fall without a fight. But they were wrong. We've shown them that no force in the universe can stand against the rage of humanity, and we will make them regret ever coming here." It was a sentiment shared by everyone in the base. The humans had won the first battle, but the war was far from finished. The aliens had underestimated humanity's strength, its will to survive, and its capacity for ingenuity. But they wouldn't make that mistake again. In the days that followed, humanity began to rebuild. The resistance worked tirelessly to strengthen their forces, using the knowledge and technology they had gained from the aliens. They adapted alien technology to their advantage, creating new weapons, new defenses, and new tactics. It was a race against time. The alien fleet would recover, and when it did, humanity had to be ready. But there was something different about the way humanity approached the task. There was a renewed sense of unity and purpose. The people of Earth had experienced unimaginable loss, but they had also discovered something vital, something that no alien invasion could take from them: the strength of the human spirit. Alina, Cade, and the rest of the team were hailed as heroes. But they didn't want the recognition. They didn't want fame. They only wanted to ensure that the sacrifices made by so many weren't in vain. They trained new recruits, shared their knowledge, and prepared for the next round of battles that would surely come. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The alien forces, although scattered and in disarray, began to regroup. They knew they had lost something crucial, a part of their dominance over the universe, but they still had the power to destroy Earth, and they would come for the planet again. The next battle would determine the future of humanity. But Alina had a deep, unshakable belief. The rage of humanity, once unleashed, could not be extinguished. Every person who had fought, every person who had fallen, was part of that rage. It was a force that would drive humanity forward, even in the darkest moments. The aliens had underestimated humanity's strength, and they would pay for that mistake. As Earth prepared for the next wave of attacks, Alina and her team stood ready. They had seen what the aliens were capable of, but they had also seen what humanity was capable of. The war was far from over, but now, humanity knew one thing for certain. They were not the underdogs anymore. The aliens had come to conquer, but humanity had come to fight. And they would never stop fighting until Earth was free.